Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is the first time I'm doing a card video, so let's see how it goes. And thanks for being kind. I wanted to do I'm doing a thank you card, but I wanted to show you how to set up your turnabout stamps from Concord and 9th. I'm using a thanks turnabout, and I downloaded this alignment guide from the Concord and 9th website. If you purchase any turnabout stamps from my web shop, I will include it for you, printed out on cardstock so you can use it. And but if you need it, then I will list everything in the description below, all the links and everything you need. But first of all, download it, print it, and when you print it, make sure you don't shrink it and shrink to fit your page. And you just put your stamp on following the guide, and then you just use a ruler and a permanent marker. I'm using a very fine point Sharpie pen, and just follow the line and mark your X. And now it's permanent. You can use it all the time. You no longer need that alignment guide. Once you do it, it's there. But I like to keep it with my stamps just in case. So I fold it in half. Now I'm making a jig for that turnabout stamp. You can use this with all your turnabout stamps. First, I cut it Nina 80-pound paper cardstock 6x6. I put jig on it, and I put 1, 2, 3, 4 on each corner so that I know where I'm turning it. So usually there's 4. Each turnabout will turn 4 times. So that's why I am using it that way. And you can see that I'm also using the same tools, a ruler and a Sharpie pen, to mark the X. So same thing, go corner to corner and mark your X. And I hope that this helps. I usually laminate it, but this time I didn't, so that you can see you don't need a laminating machine. I kind of screw up here, but it's okay. I wanted to keep it in so you can see what could happen. So I fixed the corner, but the other side got messed up, but it's still good. It's okay. All right, now let's get ready to stamp with it. So I'm using my regular MISTI, and I put the jig in with the 1 on the top right corner, and I will be turning this 4 times. Put your turnabout stamp, follow the X, and as well as possible, and just put it down and put the cover down to pick up the stamp. Sorry, it's taking a little while for me to get this done. But and then once it's on there, make sure the jig is again in the left corner. So we'll keep on going. You will use a repositionable tape or glue, this mono adhesive glue. If you put it on and let it dry, it is repositionable. So that's what I'm using. And I have a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of Nina 80-pound, which I'm going to be using to stamp my turnabout thank you stamp. So I'm just letting it dry. And now it's dry, so it's repositionable. So I'm just eyeballing it and putting it down so that it won't shift as I'm stamping. I'm using all blues from FAWN. This one is Moonstone. So this will be my first inking. So let me move it over a little bit so you can see. I am using my MISTI original size again, and beneath that is my Tim Holtz glass medium mat, which I love. It's such an easy cleanup. So here's my first. I'm pressing down really hard. This is the lightest color, and this is the first time I'm stamping, so it's not giving me a great stamp, but it's good enough because it's just a background. So that's the Moonstone. I'm only going to stamp it once. And the next one, the next color I'm using from FAWN stamp pad is Forget Me Not, which is the second lightest. So I'm going from lightest to dark. You don't have to do it that way. I'm just doing it that way. I'm using a Kirkland baby wipe unscented to clean my stamp. And then I use a dry cloth to wipe it dry, as you will see here. And I do that for every time I change colors. So, and then after that, I'm going to turn my jig to number 2. So we just did the first stamp ink, and now we're at number 2. And then I will, again, I have the small cube in Forget Me Not. So I'm inking that up. And because it's a smaller cube, it takes a little bit longer. And this one, I'll actually be doing it twice because I didn't like the first inking that I got. So you'll see that I'm gonna ink it twice. Yep, so I'm inking it twice. This is the first time. I had to move the magnet out of the way because it was going to hit the top part of my stamp. So again, I'm pressing down really hard. Sorry for all the ums. This is my first voiceover ever, so I'm looking at it and I'm looking at my video and doing the voiceover at the same time. But as you can see, I pointed earlier, I didn't like how jagged the thanks was. So I'm doing it a second time. I'm not sure if it wasn't dry enough, so it kind of got splotchy like that. But after the second one, it's better. So I'm just going to move on after the second stamp. So not pressing down as hard this time. But yep, it's a lot better. So now we're going to go to the third color, move it. And the third color is Fish Tank, again by FAWN. I'm cleaning the stamp again with my baby wipe and drying it with a dry cloth again. Sorry that I don't know how to fast forward yet, so I apologize that it's so long. I'll figure that out later when I'm editing. But again, this is my first video, so hopefully I just get better from now. And I appreciate you watching. Okay, so now I'm going to be inking it with the third color, which is Fish Tank by FAWN Premium Dye Ink Pad. I love it. I love their pads. Jennifer McGuire got me hooked on these dye ink pads. So I do have all the colors. I do sell them in my shop as well. And again, I'll link everything below. If you have any questions or if you have any suggestions, please put them in the comments. I do read everything, so I appreciate it. I'm going to have to move the magnet again because it's in the way. And we're on the third stamp, so that's why the 3 is on the top right corner of my jig. And I'm only doing this once because I like the way it is. And with these FAWN ink pads, when they dry, they get more absorbed into the paper, so it kind of mellows out. So I really like the finished product. And again, wiping it clean after every stamp and drying it with a dry cloth. This is just a towel. And then I'll go with the fourth and last color, which is FAWN Blue Jay, which is the darkest. So we're gonna switch it, turn it to, oh, that's when my washi broke and then the magnets got stuck. These little guys love to collect it with each other. Okay, so number 4 and last one, using a round magnet now. And here is Blue Jay from FAWN. And inking it up again. So much easier with a big pad. But I do have a bunch of little pads, cubes. But the Lawn Fawn, I try to get the large one because I do use them often. So that's the last fourth one, and I'm only doing this once. And then you'll notice that after every stamp, it gets full. So now it's all covered, which is really nice. And it's all thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm making this card for one of my card friends who lives in Orlando, Florida, and he was so kind to help us out when we were in Disney World, our family, and then when my girls went, he also helped them out. So I wanted to send this to him. He's such a nice guy, and he's a crafter too, and he works at Disney World. So lovely, lovely man. So again, cleaning. I'm pretty, I like to clean as I go so I don't have a mess, but I still have a mess. You know, as crafters, we make a mess to make one card, but I do like to clean as I go and just put things away. I'm a pretty clean crafter, I guess. So that's it. We're done with that background stamp, and the jig I'll keep with my stamps, so I'm going to show you. I'm going to put it away. This is the Concord and 9th. Again, it's a thank you turnabout, which I really like. You don't have to do it 4 times. You could just do it once. You could do it twice, 3 times, 4 times, and the packaging shows that. So that's pretty cool. So I'm just putting it back by following it, and you can see that the X is permanent and it'll stay there forever. And if it goes away, then you just redo it. So that's, you know, it's really easy to do. But I'll keep that jig with my stamp set so I can use it over and over again. And I do keep them in Avery L pockets, which is coming right now. There you go. So I have 2 turnabouts in here. The many thanks in the front and triangle turnabout in the back. So now I'm using the Altenew Hello, halftone Hello, and I'm using Friend, and also the die that comes with it. So it cuts out 2 hellos, a small one and a big one. So I'm using the big one, and that paper is Gina K's Blue Denim. It's super thick. I cut out that little what is that? 1, 2, 3 pentagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know that shape. And out of vellum, and I'm going to put Friend. I'm going to be stamping Friend using Versamark and using Brutus Monroe's Alabaster White embossing powder to emboss it. So first, I'm putting the hello there for so I can see where I want to put it. I'm lining up the bottom edge with the grid paper that comes with the MISTI so that I can get it fairly straight. So I got it. I'm picking up the stamp. It just says Friend. I'll list where each, like everything that I used in the description below. So that's the Versamark. But first we have to use the, I use my anti-static powder. I like this. It has a nice smell to it. So I just use that liberally so I don't have the embossing powder sticking all over the place. And inking it up with my Versamark. And stamping it. Oh, I'm off camera right now because I'm heating up my heat gun. I like to heat it up, you know, for a little while so it's nice and hot before I have to use it, especially on vellum, as it's, you know, I'm trying to not get as much warping as possible. So get that stamped. It's hard to see because it's vellum. And here's my Brutus Monroe Alabaster embossing powder. I have my coffee filter. So I just put it on, get rid of the excess. You can see it there. And now we're going to heat it up. So here's my beat up heat gun. I've had this for over 20 years. But well, it still works. I would like to get a new one, but it works fine. It's the Wagner one. I believe Hero Art sells this one. But it's all done. See how fast that was? And I like to, again, clean up, put things away so I don't knock anything over. Put the cover on. Yep. I don't want embossing powder all over the place. So again, wiping it off, putting the stamp away before I lose it, especially a little stamp like that. It's easy to lose. And that's my Altenew. So just putting it where it belongs. And I'm going to bring out my pocket that I keep it in so you can see. There it is, Altenew Halftone Hello Stamps and Dies. And that's the die that I use, the small and the big, but I'm using the bigger one. So now I'm using Gina K blue denim. Here it is. This is how I keep it in job ticket heavy duty folders. This is 8.5 by 11, and I'm cutting it. I'm going to do a top folding card, so I'm cutting it at 4 1/4 on the 8.5 inch side. So I'm cutting it in half. This is my big Tim Holtz Tonic guillotine trimmer, which I really like. And I'm also cutting down. So now I'm going to bring the smaller Tim Holtz or Tonic trimmer. Sorry, tongue tied. Oh, sorry. I'm going to score it in half, which is 5 1/2. I can't find my Teflon folder, which I bought from Simon Says Stamps. My son used it, and who knows where it is. So I'm going to have to purchase another one. It makes a difference. It's expensive, but it's worth it, people. Buy the Teflon bone folder. I'll list the one that I bought from Simon Says Stamp below. So it's top folding, 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. And I'm going to trim the background stamp to 4 by 5 1/4. So now I'm using my smaller trimmer, and I really like these guillotine trimmers. I do still use my Fiskars, but these are so handy. So I really like it. Normally you should hold down the plastic, the little plastic part, because that holds your paper in place. But obviously I didn't do it. So now this one is 4, so I did a 1/4 inch on the shorter end and the wider end, so that it is 4 by 5 1/4. So it has a little border all the way around. And it doesn't matter which way you do it, because there's no orientation to the background portion. So I'm going to glue it down. I'm using my mono adhesive glue again. And normally I would put like something heavy, like acrylic blocks, but I didn't have it handy, so I just used my stamp pads that were right next to me. And I like using liquid glue because you can kind of wiggle it to get it where as straight as you can. It is handmade, so it's okay that if it's a little wonky, but I like that using a liquid gives me that little wiggle room. So I'm using my stamp pads to weigh it down. So while it dries fairly quickly. So now I'm going to put the hello on the vellum using the same glue. I'm using this glue throughout. This is one of my favorite glues, liquid glue. Just put a little bit because you don't need much. And then I'm going to drop it. Thank goodness it didn't go glue side down. There, oopsie. And I'm going to bring my, usually I use my cutter bee tweezers, which I should have done earlier. But so now I'm putting it on. And again, it doesn't matter if it's super straight or not. And I'm going to put something heavy again, another ink pad, stamp pad, just for a little while so that it has something heavy while it's drying. Okay, so let's wait for that to dry and we can get back to our card. So it's ready. The card is almost finished. I'm sorry it's taking so long. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is attach the, this is going to be a fairly simple card. And zoom in so you can see a little better. And I'm going to actually cut off the bottom because I feel like it's so much wasted space. So I'm just going to cut off a little bit of the bottom. It's going to lose that dot or dash detail, but it's okay. I hope my friend still appreciates this card. See, that's what you're supposed to do. Hold that plastic down, which I didn't do earlier. So there's what it is. And because vellum is hard to glue things down, because of that hello, I'm going to put glue only in the back of there, so you won't be able to see the glue from the front. So you should always have something to hide when you glue down vellum. So this worked out well. And that's, like I said, that's the only thing. And it's strong enough that it will stay. So I'm just eyeballing it again, putting it down. And put something heavy. Just for a little while until it's, well, it's not totally dry, but just keep it there for a little while. So I want to stamp something on the inside, and these are the 3 stamps that I decided. It's also from the Many Thanks Turnabout, and it says, "Thanks so much for that thing you did." So I'm using the 3. And I want to show you using my Creative Corners add-on. I'm using this L-shaped ruler. I want to show you how you can make it fairly straight. But first, I'm embossing it. So again, the anti-static powder. I like to overdo it, but I still got a little bit of embossing powder where I didn't want it, but it's much better when you do it with the powder. So thanks is on top, and then so much will be in the middle for that for what does it say? For that thing you did. So again, he was so helpful when we went to Disney World. So I use it, the L shape, put it against the side, and I just push it down. And of course it's kind of sticky, so just push it down until it's straight. And then I'm doing the same thing from the bottom. So, oh, there you go. Yep, so I did it again from the top to make sure. So I just push it together. If you don't want it together, you could do one at a time. And I'm going to put down my MISTI cover, lift up the stamp using the Versamark. Again, it's a sticky ink which grabs embossing powder really well, so that's what I'm using. So thanks so much for that thing you did. It's not centered perfectly, but it's okay. And then I'm going to bring again the Brutus Monroe white or alabaster embossing powder, which is white. I really like his embossing powders. And sprinkle it on over my coffee filter again. And as you can see, there's a little bit of white embossing powder where it shouldn't be, but usually I'll go with a dry brush and brush it off, but I didn't do it this time. And my heat gun was again heating on the side, so it's nice and hot. I'm doing it from the front and the back. Sorry, I'm out of frame, but I do it front and back so that it lessens the warping, but it still does warp a little bit. And this is really heavy cardstock. So there you go, it's all done. And to get rid of the powder, I just wipe my hand around over it. But again, cleaning up so I don't knock things over. We're almost there. Thank you for being patient with me. It's almost over. I will get better, I hope. And I hope you enjoyed this little video. Again, I'll post everything below. I hope he enjoys this card. It was so much fun to make and video. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. I appreciate all of you. Thank you.